Shall we get started before I get too tired?
Whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop. So we are on session 52. We are 1 year of sessions if we had done things weekly.
Ooh. Oh
Wow.
my gosh. That's wild.
I know. No. As long as you guys are still having fun after 2 years.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah. I said this to Sean earlier, but 2 years with the same characters, and then I had to backtrack because one of you has had multiple characters for various reasons throughout
That's
the
fine.
campaign. But session 52, what happened in session 51?
Hmm.
We fought a big fire elemental.
Yes, you did.
In
Most of
Echo.
us were asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might be cheating a little bit because that was session 50 because I started splitting up sessions into halves.
I'm just gonna go by whatever's on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yes, we fought a fire elemental.
Then got in trouble for fighting the fire elemental
Because it wasn't a fire element.
because Astra was really mad, and then Astra laid out the ground rules for the Grove, which are first rule of the Grove is to trust Astra. Second rule of the Grove is to trust Astra, and the third rule of the Grove is to be a team. That's what I wrote down.
End of notes? End of notes?
No, then we made a plan. Oh, I made a plan. Well, you guys can figure that out later.
I, I believe Astra also shared that there's like an area in the Grove that seems to be not on fire or something like that, and that like she believes that there might be a weapon there or something. And she wants to like secretly without the tenders, is it tenders? Knowing, like go and investigate it with us.
Yeah.
There was an area of the grove where the rhythm seemed to even out.
Yes, the rhythms. Mhm.
The great
And then Astra took Elle through a meditation where she met with Evie.
Very
It was
trippy stuff.
very cool.
Hmm.
And then I wrote down the question that Elle asked, like, can we defeat the Scorch Grove without the aspect of ice? And then didn't write the answer down. And all I have after that is pancakes for breakfast. So I hope someone wrote it down.
To be fair, it was a pretty cryptic answer. And actually, while we're on that note, would the DM please text me the thing that Astra told Elle last time? Because I got a new phone and I lost all our previous chats.
Good God.
You mean you didn't back up from Huawei?
I didn't back up WhatsApp.
The thing that
I backed
Astra
up
told you, or
everything else.
This Humblewood adventure is not sponsored by Huawei.
yeah,
No.
the thing that Astra told you, or the thing that you
The thing that
remember from your meditation?
the thing that the thing did.
Got it. Yep, correct.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. And then we started
While
the
this
day
is
off.
happening. Oh,
I say while we started, we started the day off. Apoc was sleepwalking,
Yes.
yes.
and then
Yeah.
Mrs. Q has homemade makeup and beauty products. That's all I can remember.
The important stuff.
Yeah.
We were just waking up the next day, Elle feeling a little bit exhausted after her journey into whatever meditation space she was able to meet with Evie and the strange kind of chiseled faced figure that appeared, hand outstretched in the space. Apoc sleepwalking, yeah, everybody doing their morning routine in their glamping. Excuse me. Doing their morning routine at the start of the day. And Astra and Trevor, who is still with you, but has been far more reserved the closer you've gotten to the grove, far more anxious at night, has been trying to kind of keep it together as you've neared the tender camp and are like a couple hours walk this morning towards the camp of the tenders. Astra kind of shaking herself awake, adjusting her mantle and her cloak, and just kind of looking to you for when you are all ready to go. Is there anything else you wanted to do at the start of the day before you start walking towards the tender camp?
Miss Q would roll her Invoke the Amaranthine in preparation for the day. Just in case.
Yeah, go for it. That's a good spell. I like that spell.
It is. It's kind of fun. Even if you don't use it, it's still fun.
Okay. So as you all finish up your prep, Astra just kind of stands as she sees you all throwing your packs over your back. And so unfortunately, we're going to be unable to fly today, but the tender encampment is only an hour or two away by foot. Things in the grove are usually, at least at this time in the morning, a little bit decent, a little bit nice, especially as we've tried to keep things clear the closer we get to our camp. Keep things a little bit safer for some of the elders who reside there. So, when you're ready, we'll just set off for the day, and ideally I'd like to have a bit of a plan before we walk in. I'd like to know where you'd like to go, so give it some thought. When we get there, we'll suit up properly and we'll head out. And she kind of throws her own bag over her shoulder, waits for you all to kind of gather yourself, and when you're all ready, she starts to lead the way, continuing in a like northwesterly direction towards the grove. Stop me if you'd like to do anything during the walk, but now that you are on the ground, walking, physically exerting yourselves this close to the grove, the taste of ash on your tongue is becoming more of a constant. Every so often, you kind of like catch yourself licking your lips as you start to get a little bit dry, the skin getting a little bit warm to the touch, even at the edge of the scorched grove itself. The farther you walk, the more you realize that you have left any semblance of a living forest far behind you. The trees you now walk on are graying. Leaves are starting to, if they're not all off of the tree, the only remaining ones are this very crisp, black, brown, yellow kind of state. Bark is starting to peel off. The immensity of these trees are still here. It's very much still that old growth, mangrove root kind of vibe. But you definitely see the toll that the heat of the grove and the kind of constant ash in the air has taken on this part.
Hey, Astra, how far away are we?
About an hour or two, just under.
All right, perfect. Make sure you stay close as you see the flock of the flock, the swarm of fleas just kind of spread out and coat the surface of the ground around us as I cast Pass Without a Trace.
Oh, very nice.
If it's an hour trip, I'll cast it once. If it's a 2-hour trip, I'll refresh it.
It's close to a 2-hour trip.
Okay, so we'll have it up till we get to the grove.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good because I was going to get you all.
I wanted to do it before.
Yep. While you are moving through this space with the fleas kind of cushioning your steps, it's kind of a weird feeling having the fleas just buzzing gently around you, but I will have all of you. Well, I'll leave it up to you. Are you trying to be careful as you make your way towards the tender encampment, or are you trying to just get there as fast as possible?
I feel like we would be like at least more aware of our surroundings given the fact that we met the Echo unexpectedly yesterday.
And given the lecture we got.
Yeah, that too.
Fair. So in that case, I'll get everyone to make a stealth check, and you get a +10.
+10 to your stealth.
+10 to your stealth.
Wow.
Dang, okay.
That's so much plus.
Do I have everything but a D20? Yeah.
You want this one?
No, I'll just go dig into my pot of D20s.
Nice bag of hoarding.
Gal for pass without a trace.
All right, Mrs. Q.
16. I rolled really low.
Basil.
21.
Okay. Aurora.
23.
Elle.
14, because I'm at disadvantage and rolled
Yes,
like
you
shit.
are. Yep, yes, you are. That's very true.
Dirty 20.
All right.
That's
Well, I guess I should
What?
roll for Astra and Trevor. Like 26 plus stuff for Astra and Trevor, who is quaking. No, he's not. You see the two tenders who are far more accustomed to this place, kind of treading ever so lightly with the flea's help. The rest of you, a little words of warning in mind, ground rules in mind, treading a little slower, a little heavier, but still able to tread lightly as you go. You do see as you are traveling kind of out in the distance, just the flat expanse of the scorched grove starts to kind of come into view around you, your actual vision being limited by the ash in the air itself, kind of only letting you see, like, it wouldn't be that bad, kind of only letting you see like 2-3 kilometers out in front of you. But you do kind of see every so often flickers of flames just off into the distance, partially shrouded in the like low-hanging soot that kind of fills the air, the low-hanging ash. But after an hour or two of walking, 2 hours of walking, you do see the tender encampment, sort of a not quite ramshackled, but it looks that way at first until you realize that it is built out of root and tree, anything that's been left, that's been kind of shaped and glued together, giving it an odd sort of jagged appearance. But the closer you get, you realize the smoothness of the wood planks that form the huts, the kind of general organization to the layout, the thoughtfulness with which they've created boards to keep ash out of their homes and ash out of their centers in this encampment. It's very much like a small village as you approach, and you see bodies moving, some in deep green robes, some in lighter colors of orange, that you can almost guess are more like a camo in this particular part of the wood. Some that are in gentle purples and violets, basically anything that they can kind of throw on to handle whatever is out in the scorched grove itself. You see actually quite a few wells around this area too. You see there is a tender pretty much manning each well, making sure that the structure of it, the water of it, the soot kind of stays clear. And you, Jesus, I saw that WhatsApp notification.
no.
And you see as far, the closer and closer you approach, you see some of the tenders start to look up towards you and just wave as they recognize their tall Luma mourning dove with the rosy cheeks leader and her mantle approaching the village itself. And you can see all manner of humble folk, of bird folk here. There's hedge, gervines, mapocs, lumas, gallus, all the races of Humblewood appear to be gathered here under the banner of the tenders. And of all ages as well. It appears that some of them are, the youngest ones are in their teens, while the oldest ones, you see one very old gallus, so foul folk, with a very long neck, very turkey-esque, wearing a simple brown tunic, just tending over the wells. Okay.
I won't explain.
Okay. Tending over one of the wells that waves as you all pass in. Despite where they are, this is very much a little bit of a bustling community. And Astra kind of looks to you and just sort of raises her arms, and there is a bit of that smile from her demeanor in Alderheart that's returned after an eventful night. And she looks to you all and just, so welcome to our home here at the Scorched Grove. It's our base of operations, so all of the research we need is done here as much as possible. All of our food stores, our water stores, everything is here for us. We have a series of elders that I've sent word ahead to that we would be arriving. So if we can, I'd like to stop in with them before we go anywhere. But they may have some information that might inform where you'd like to actually head when we venture into the grove. I will get Trevor back settled now that we're here. But essentially, if you need anything, if you need to restock your rations, if you need a change of clothes, and she points to a building just off to her right, you'll be able to get anything you need. They know to expect you here. I know I've asked the elders to round up some of the items that we may have that may be of use, so I'd love to see what they have been able to scrounge around for us. But ideally, we can set off late this afternoon and at least start our way into the grove, unless you'd like to rest here. I'll leave that up to you. But for now, gather anything you need, and right behind me, if you want to meet me here in maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we'll be able to see what the elders have been able to gather for us. And she kind of gives a nod, looks to all of you, and just gives a gentle smile to each of you, pausing at you, Elle, for a second. And you can see she's almost just like trying to communicate just through a look before she moves on to Apoc and Aurora. And then she sort of grabs Trevor by the shoulder gently and just starts to guide him into the elder hut behind her.
Well, it's been a while.
At this time,
It's been a while
go
since
ahead,
we've gone shopping.
Another outfit change?
I mean, if we have time.
Mrs. Q, if while this conversation is happening, you see her like this like glowing orb appears in front of her as she casts her druid craft, wondering what's going to happen with like what her like forest, what is it called? Forest magic would even look like in a place where the forest has died.
Ooh, interesting.
what are you trying to conjure?
My ability to sort of tell the weather. Normally, like it creates like an orb that shows me what the weather is going to be like. I'm curious if it will even work.
Interesting. Okay, so as you go to conjure, I like this. I like this a lot. You can take a point of inspiration for that, because that's a really cool thought. As you go to call on your druid craft and conjure a little inkling of what the weather will look like for the next little bit, you notice that in this particular spot, it kind of surprises you how quickly you're able to craft using your forest magic. You know there's kind of like a movement of one hand and movement of another, but as soon as you move your first hand, that little orb just appears right in front of you, a condensed ball of glimmering, slightly pink, sparkling energy. It kind of catches you off guard for a second, and you focus and finish the spell. And you notice that as you look in to try and determine the weather, it's a very kind of gray, opaque, almost looking like a moving fog. And as you kind of focus in and look at it and just sort of look up kind of absentmindedly to figure out what that actually is, you notice the sky above you is very reminiscent of what you're looking at in your little orb. This like overcast gray that just kind of seems to gently swirl and move above you. You get the sense that in this particular spot, surrounded by druidic magic, the conjuring of this is easy, but the actual weather in this particular spot is strange.
She turns to the group and says, well, think I may have purchased the wrong coat for this endeavor. She's still wearing like the giant puff coat.
Just covered in ash and like you're just
Yeah,
dreading
I'm a
it.
little dusty. So I'm I'm with Aurora that we may need a quick costume change.
All right.
Basil will be like dig himself underneath your coat, being like, "Yes, please."
Why
I
are
do
you under
feel-
Mrs. Q's coat?
It's so big.
It is a pretty big coat. That's fair.
Very large.
It's like, guys, I'm still here.
So it sounds like you were all going for a costume change.
No, Ella's gonna like kind of wander on her own. She wants to go talk to some of the kids or the teens, the scary teenagers.
Mhm. Yeah. Question, is there nobody younger than teens in this place? Because you said the youngest people you saw were teens.
On a quick glance, as you approached, it looked like they were all in their teens. Like, well, you're in your teens too, your age, or you're in your teens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Aurora's in her teens. They look to all be potentially of decision-making age, as old as that can be, age of consent, to join the
Consent to
tenders.
what? Oh.
I'm making a joke.
Ha.
Varies by
Consent to
species.
join a dangerous place. But you didn't see like children here. Like Elle would be the youngest one you've seen in this place so far.
Okay.
Okay. So the shopping folks, and you realize very quickly, whoever is going shopping, that as you walk into this particular building, it is very much this is what we have that we've been able to stockpile as opposed to a shop. So there are tunics, cloaks, traveling clothes, walking sticks, very rudimentary kind of adventuring gear in this place. Lanterns, rope, things that anyone walking to the Grove might find useful or in need of. A pair of boots.
I know they're a little out of date, but do you guys have any like hunter boots?
You see this servant, this male servant. He's a little old. There is a sag to his face as he's kind of in this hut, but there's a very stern expression in his brow, and his ears are very, very, very big, especially for a deer folk, very moose-esque. And he kind of looks and thinks, scowls for a second, and all you get is we have boots our hunters wear.
I guess
Start.
that'll do.
He kind of turns around and like rummages a bit before pulling out very ash covered just leather boots.
All right. How much?
You're going into the grove. It's for you. It's what we can offer.
All right, well, thank you very much. And I give him a cute smile and I pat him on the shoulder and turn to whoever else is here.
Any look you'd like within adventuring clothes, classic adventuring clothes reason is here.
Mrs. Q goes up to him and says, I'm wondering if maybe we could do a trade, because the coat I'm wearing isn't really conducive for what it lies ahead, but it's rather large and squishy, and I'm wondering if you could use it, as like a bedroll for someone or something.
He kind of like reaches out to like touch the sleeve of it and squeeze it. And you see his like eyebrows get big. We could all use new pillows. This would be
several.
This is far too heavy for the Grove. Here, let me get you something that would work. And he sort of turns and like brushes off some of the cloaks. The cloaks are kind of the only more colorful thing in here. You have like some deep oranges, like rust kind of colors. You have some brighter reds, and then you have some very deep, like violets and blues that kind of make up this array of cloaks. And he kind of looks, and then he looks at the cloaks and looks at you. You'll probably be safer in an orange or red, but you look more like a purple.
How astute.
And goes to pick up the purple cloak and hand it to you as you kind of shimmy out of your massive coat.
Does it have pockets?
Why not? Yeah, everything has pockets here.
He was just like, wow, so functional.
Well, I'm more thinking because like I am the sort of lady who has things in her pockets all the time. So it's good to have pockets, you know,
All your
for my biscuits,
yes.
for my spatulas, you know, the essentials.
Perfect.
Your
You made the trade.
bachelors?
My spatulas, not my
I heard
biscuits.
bachelors as well.
Her bachelors. I'm like, oh, okay.
We got a golden bachelor
I
situation
knew.
going on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I heard spatulas.
Excellent.
I love how that coat lasted like 2 sessions.
It was just I wasn't thinking. I was swept away in my, you know, young version of myself just wanting to buy the coolest thing I saw.
We've all been there. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
Does either Basil or are you guys in here as well?
I mean, I'm there, but I don't know if I'm gonna buy anything new. I'm just trying to break this one in.
Break what one in?
This outfit, we got like I got the Ponson out glasses and the Morpheus garb.
Oh, that's right.
Like this. I don't even know what the right.
You'll be okay in the grove, I think.
So will you.
I'm not going in. My days in the grove are over.
But you were all right, right?
I'm still here.
Yeah. Do you have any? I don't know. I want to say guidance, but like, is there any like folk stories of things we should avoid? You know, like if you see a dancing light, don't follow it, kind of thing.
Well, that's for sure.
Okay.
There's a lot of fire spirits that rely in the grove. Not all of them are bad. Some are okay. One of the things we always said that our hunters used to see when the grove was smaller than what it is now is if the earth starts to move, stand still.
Why is that?
I'm not sure. I never actually saw the earth moving.
But like, is it just like moving back and forth, or is it opening up?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because if it's opening up, I think we could probably move.
That would make sense. Our scouts usually saw it from farther away, and they always said to stand still instead of run, and I never understood that, but it seemed like they knew what they were talking about.
Okay, that's good to know. You guys hear that?
Got a tremor situation going on.
No.
What's tremors?
A terrible movie.
The classic.
You shush. You're wrong. Anything for you, Sir Knight? You also look well outfitted, but I do hope that that metal will not get hot.
I see that many in the camp have this camo. I'd be interested in getting a cloak of that.
Yes, that would help you. I'm so stupid. He pulls off one of the like camo cloaks, and it's very much he kind of like whips it to get some of the soot off. And as he does, you notice that the oranges and the browns of the cloak kind of ripple and look almost like a flame sort of dancing
Very
before he sort of stands it still. And it's just kind of like this patchwork orange and
okay.
brown. But he kind of hands it to you. It's like a little bit long, but built for a drippy.
Oh, very cool. Wraps it around himself. I'm not sure yet. Okay. Because I feel like if he were to wrap it over his billowing cloak, that means the cloak is like be constantly moving, so it would look like actual flame. But then would two cloaks be just like he'd be like
It's like Ken with too many sunglasses.
You're
I'm
kind
big
of like
fan.
you're kind of like an infant in their like onesie snow jumper a little bit. Like it's like,
But like a flame.
but like it does kind of look like a flame. Yeah.
Sir Basil would just go for it. Yeah, two cloaks and just like
Excellent. All right. Newly outfitted, we'll pan back over to Elle, who's just kind of wandering, trying to chat up some of the scary teenagers.
Hello, fellow teens. No, she's gonna walk. She's gonna go up and just kind of like stand on this like on the outer side of a conversation to see like what people are talking about until she can like find that thing that she can interject with.
Oh dear.
So you kind of spot two younger folk, probably in their teens, around one of the wells. There is a Vulpin, so very, very fox-like, but with like really, really, really big ears, like desert cat kind of ears. And they're more of a tan instead of a red on their fur. And you see a raptor. Very tawny owl, so a little bit on the smaller side with very long legs and very wide eyes and a very small beak. And they're just kind of chatting to one another, and you hear them going, yeah, the elders are getting worried. You can really, really tell it's not that great. And, I'm still happy I came here, even if it's just, well duty, but this is very important because it's water. Water is a luxury out here. And the other one kind of going, this would be the owl. The little owl kind of going, yeah, I understand. I get where you're going from that. I feel the same way. I mean, I kind of miss home a little bit. All the festivals and stuff like that. But, Astra's back. Maybe she brought something back from the big city. I know she wasn't going there for that this time, but maybe she did. And they're just kind of chatting back and forth, making small talk. Do you want them to see you approach?
Yeah, she's kind of gonna amble up, and when she hears them talking about wells, she's gonna say something along the lines of, "This looks like a nice well. How many?" You guys seem to have a lot of wells up here. And she's trying.
You kind of amble up, and they sort of see you approach at the same time that you make your statement. And the little owl, who's like a little bit shorter than you, although older, just kind of looks and weighs and just, yeah, I mean, well duty is important. It's things evaporate pretty quickly, especially if there's like a hot flash or a flare from the grove, or I don't think I've seen you here. I like your feathers. As you see her kind of like brush her own neck where you have your patterned feathers on yours.
Thanks. I sometimes try to hide it under my big scarf, but I don't know. It makes me kind of unique. What you were just saying, there's like flares and hot flashes here? Does that happen often?
The little owl kind of turns to look at their Vulpin companion, who just sort of thinks for a second, and it doesn't happen that often, but every so often it kind of gets hot a couple of degrees and then it lasts for like an afternoon or at most like a day and then it fades. But like we can kind of feel when it's about to happen. Well, you know about the great rhythm, right? It kind of fluxes a little bit. I don't really know how else to describe it. You can feel it change and you know it's going to happen, so you know you got to cover the wells.
Oh. I'm new here, so I'm sure I'm gonna learn all about wells and rhythms and I'm Elle. What are your names?
Oh, hi Al. Well, I'm Anna. And the little Alan kind of looks over. And I'm Tim.
You guys know Trevor?
Well, we know Trevor. We know pretty much everybody here. There's not a lot of us. That's how we knew that you were new. But we didn't want to be rude.
Yeah, Trevor and I are like best friends. Did you?
Really?
Yeah, I love his name. Um, did you
Full
guys
stop.
know? He didn't talk about it much, but did you guys know about like what happened when he was out with Hazel?
You see them kind of look at each other. Well, we were awake when he came back in the middle of the night. He was he came in shouting and screaming for help, saying that Havel had been killed out there in the grove. Actually, I think he said eaten out there in the grove, and none of us really knew what that meant. But I know he was a mess when he came back until Astra was able to just kind of calm him down and get him to breathe and actually talk about what happened out there. And you see Anna, the Vulpin, kind of look down at Tim, the raptor, and they just kind of shake a little bit as they exchange a glance. And Tim pipes up and just he said that he said that the whole ground kind of erupted and that there was ash in his eyes and he couldn't see very well, but this monster, this huge thing was like eating the ground and everything on it. He said that Havel kind of shouted before the ground erupted, and that's the only reason why Trevor was able to get a foot in advance, you know, to run. He said it was like a split-second difference.
Wow.
But
I I guess when the ground shakes, it means you got to run away really quickly.
well, when he said that, Astra seemed really concerned and kind of surprised, if I'm being honest. You
Surprised
know,
that surprised that Trevor made it back, or just surprised that it happened?
I think a little bit of both, but maybe that Trevor made it back. Well, there's a saying among some of the scouts where if the ground starts to heave or move or shake or I don't know, you're supposed to stand still. No one really knows where that came from or why, but I kind of think it's stupid because obviously you're gonna run, right?
Yeah, I would run.
But if Astor was that concerned, I mean, maybe we should believe it. I will believe anything Astor says. She knows she's been into the grove the most out of all of us. Even some of the elders haven't been in as many times as she's gone in to try and fix it.
Have you two gone into the grove?
Um, they kind of look at each other again as they sort of think. We've gone in once with one of the older scouts, but only like an hour or two in. And then we just kind of did a little bit of recon and came back. You're not usually allowed in until you have a little bit more magic under your belt. We're still learning. That's why we're taking care of the well.
Well, I think you're doing a good job. What do you guys do for fun around here?
Oh, well, on Tuesdays, we have a little kickball tournament. We just kind of play in the middle of the square. The elders like to watch. It's pretty fun. One of them's able to kind of use a little bit of gust so that we don't swallow too much of the ash. That's really, really fun. That's the highlight of the week. And then on Thursdays, once a month, we kind of all get together in the town square and we practice something called improv, where you just sort of make a story up on the spot. It's hilarious.
What day is it today? Is any of that coming up or did we miss it?
No, I think you kind of missed it. I'm sorry. Last week was the improv. If you wait like 4 days,
Shoot.
if you wait 4 days or so, that'll be kickball.
Okay. Well, I think we're going into the Grove pretty soon, but when I get back, I really want to play kickball. I've never played it, but if it's like it sounds like fun.
It's so much fun. Yeah, okay, when you get back, we'll play it.
Okay.
You're not going alone though, are you? As the little owl speaks up once more.
No, I'm going with the people that I'm traveling with. They all have a special set of skills, so we should be good.
Do you have You're younger than us. Do you have a special set of skills? Does Astra know you're going?
Oh yeah, Astra knows I'm going. She's traveled with us so far.
Hey. Well, if she knows you're going, you must be pretty good.
Don't tell my group, but I think I'm the most powerful out of all of us.
You see them genuinely like, tell us more.
And Elle is she's gonna take out her book of fan fiction of her group and just go through all of it with them.
Amazing. I love that.
Let's-
They're enthralled
I
by
want to
you.
know what this fanfic is about.
Just think about everything we've done, but Elle is the hero of every single thing that happened.
Yes.
I love that.
Now, is it fanfic if
She's a
You
fan
are
of herself.
yeah?
She's a fan of herself. We all need a little bit of Elle. I could use a little bit of Elle.
Can I, while we're in this store looking for clothing, can I look for a #1 fan shirt?
Sure, for fun. We'll say the old servant has like an older tunic that you
I was
request this,
joking.
and he can embroider it for
All
you.
right.
But you are so enraptured by the storytelling that you just kind of get lost for the next 20 minutes chatting with these very enthralled young tenders here. As the rest of you are about to leave the little clothing hut, the supplies hut, filling up on your rations and anything else, your arrows, anything else that you need. Mrs. Q, you kind of get shocked for a little bit of a second as you hear a voice come through. It's been only a couple days since you've heard this voice, but the voice of the dean from the avium just kind of drifts along the wind and just starts to take form around your ears and in your head as the dean's voice comes through. Hello, Mrs. Quillam. This is Dean Winsworth here. Been a couple days, but the council has advised me to advise you and your group that we've made a few discoveries in the lair or the laboratory that you were able to uncover in the avium. There's a pause before you hear a second message come through. It appears that the Corvum you described, who was working in the laboratory, built the monster that he called the Cobblefright. It's quite a piece. There's a lot of arcane magic that's gone into it. It's Certainly someone practiced who built this. It looks like he was studying something called the soul suck ability. The ability to weaken a creature by destroying and essentially sucking out its essence. It's very strange. I'm not a fan of it at all. There's a pause before you hear another message come through. By consuming the essence of a creature, it appears you can weaken it enough to do some serious damage to that creature, and it seems like that was the focus of his studies. He also seemed to be very enamored by the Scorched Grove. I knew that was going to come through. Also seems to be very enamored by the Scorched Grove. There's a lot of information about conjuration circles and magic, all with scribbled notes in his handwriting about the grove. We're still trying to understand what that means, but as long as the council thinks it's important for you to know, I'll let you know. You can reply to this message.
Beep.
Is that how it
You
works?
do recognize this as the message spell, and you can respond back if you wish.
Thank you, Dean, for this information. I will relay it to my colleagues. Were you able to track the Corvin that escaped?
There's a few seconds of pause before the dean comes back. We are still trying. It seems like there was a secondary tunnel that he was able to get out of. We were able to track him for a bit, but some form of magical disguise has made the trail go cold into the tunnels. We're not 100% sure where they lead, and right now there is a focus on making sure they're stable enough to actually be down there in the first place. But again, we'll update you if we find him. No idea who he is, unless you do. Also, there appears to still be a book missing. The Necronomicon Ex Corvus was not recovered. Did you see it while you were down here?
In all the commotion, I'm afraid I wasn't paying much attention to the books.
Yeah, Aurora's in the background, like you kind of pan out. There's a pause. All right, we'll keep looking. If you hear anything, it's a dangerous book and needs to be returned. Whoever has it does not have good intentions. So, we can keep it under lock and key, but if you meet that Corvum again and he's got it, we need it back. We need to keep it safe.
Thank you for this information.
Oops. There's a pause and a pause, and you get the sense that the conversation's ended.
Did you know that Aurora has that particular book?
Aurora was pretty obsessed with that particular book during the fight you had with the Cobblefright in the tunnels and the laboratory of the Avium.
I've also not been shy about like actively having it out.
Okay, I was about to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, like you know that I have it.
Okay. So I just lied.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. If you've ever tried to figure out if someone's lying over the phone, though, it's not the easiest thing. So
It's true.
if you're face to face with the dean, that might be a different story.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it says like Necronomicon Ex Corvus on the spine of the book.
Yeah, with like a dead bird skull on the front cover of it, like this black leather tome.
Yeah. And it's like emanating shadowy energy around it. Like it's
Pretty
it's
obvious.
sweet. It's a sweet book.
I don't like that smile. All right. Just checking in. Did we need to take a break? Did we want to keep going? I'm thinking we might end, shortly after 9:30-ish tonight, and a bit early. Did we want to power through, or did we need a bit of a breather? Okay, seems like we're good to go.
Up
Yeah.
to you, because
Yeah.
If you need a sec, that's fine too. I'm good with whatever.
I've still got my water, so I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go and grab more if I need it. So as the time elapses, Mrs. Q kind of receives this message. The rest of you see Mrs. Q kind of stop walking for a second and just sort of stare into space. And you catch the her side of the messages going back. You do see Elle leaned over a well, very enamored, kind of telling two younger tenders her stories before she kind of catches a glimpse of you. And you see Astra, who kind of just pokes her head out for a second and waves at all of you before bringing her head back into the main elder tent. Stop me if you'd like to do anything, but you realize your time to actually go and meet with the elders has come. And you all just sort of gather yourselves and make your way towards the hut where you saw Astra poke her head out. And as you all kind of knock and enter, you see Astra kind of do a once-over of all of you with Basil and his flaming cloak, Mrs. Q devoid of her massive coat. And she kind of smiles and giggles under her breath. And you all look good, ready for the grove, I see.
You guys are well prepared.
Well, we've had some time to figure out what's actually needed here. She kind of stops for a second. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke. Very funny. We've managed to figure out how to make this work. How to keep the soot out of our hair and our feathers and off of our food and off of our water. So we've got it figured out here, but these enchantments are very localized. They're not going to follow us into the grove, so things like your tiny hut will be of use quite a bit, Aurora. And all of what you've done to prepare will help as well. These are the elders of the tender. They've been around a lot longer than I have. And you can see now that there are four older, very much older, humble folk and bird folk. There is one servant with like massive stag horns. There is a strig, very barn owl-esque with a very elongated heart-shaped face. There is another raptor, not unlike your friend Elle, very burrowing owl with wide eyes that actually also have like little pince-nez glasses, but the rims are just massive to cover the entire eye of this owl, this strig, pardon me. And you see an older hedge, much older than Mrs. Q, a female, who is very, very squinty and looks to have a slight tremor to her hands.
Like
As she
looks older than Mrs. Q.
looks older than Mrs. Q, but you are also a legend.
Yes, just wanted to clarify. I feel like I am actually the oldest ever. Like I'm so flipping old, but I just don't look it. So
I also like how that's just not bothered you since you found that out.
It's your night creams.
it is my night creams.
Noxema.
Cerve.
Cerve. Did you guys see that commercial as a side note? The Michael Cerve commercial?
Oh,
You should
yes.
look it up after. Okay, yeah.
So smooth.
Yeah,
So
let my
soft.
cream moisturize you. Okay. Such...
This episode
I
sponsored.
know, I'm sorry. It's such a good commercial. The only good commercial. The inside of this is a very basic kind of community hall is kind of the best way to say it. There are what looks to be tables kind of shoved up, like picnic tables shoved up against the sides. There's one that the elders are sitting at. And you see Astra, who has crafted herself a chair out of the dirt of the floor, not unlike in Humblewood or in Alderheart itself. as she's just kind of sitting, allowing the elders to take the room that they need at the table. But she just sort of gestures all of you over to a secondary table and kind of gestures for all of you to sit. And the elders sort of look at each of you and just kind of give a little wave or a nod or a form of acknowledgement, a hello, a welcome, as they kind of straighten their backs and sort of move their shoulders to keep an eye on you. As they all just kind of look, hands sort of clenched. And it is the owl with the glasses that sort of speaks over and just, I was practicing, but then my voice went all weird. Oh, hello. Astra tells us that you're about to go into the grove. That's very brave of you all. For not being part of the tenders to take on such a mission is quite the journey. And we're going to make sure it's as successful as possible. You see them kind of like move over to grab a bag and puts it on top and just kind of opens it. Astra's told us all of your names. It's very nice to meet you all. We are the oldest of the tenders here and have chosen to stay to help all the young tenders figure out their place and train them up in the world. My name is May. She gestures over to the servant with the large antlers.
My name is Jude.
No. His name is June. She gestures over to the... Shoot, who else was there? There was the owl, the servant. I'm not on the right page.
The raptor.
Yeah.
Sprig.
The hedge.
The strig, the hedge. I lost my page here. My apologies. And me. She gestures over to the hedge, the female hedge, and she says, "This is Tulip." And she gestures to the last member. "And this is Poppy. We are the ones responsible for maintaining what we know and all of the knowledge that we have, and writing it down so that we can at least remember where we've been. Unfortunately, that has been bad for some time, as the grove has been expanding despite all of our efforts. But," and she kind of looks over to Astra, who just kind of gives a nod. "Astra told me that she told you about the strange moving target that is yet to be fully examined in the grove. The spot where the rhythm appears to even out despite the grove being so uneven and irregular." She kind of coughs and straightens up once more. "Astra's also told you about the hot spot that we've tried to discover, but have not been able to go too far into the caves before it's gotten too hot that it's penetrated all of our magics. There's a few things we know about each, but I cannot tell you what lies at the bottom of each should you go." She kind of looks towards the other elders who just kind of nod along. You see that this is almost a new telling, is the sense you kind of get from the reassurance that May has been seeking from Astra and from the other elders. The hotspot is the entrance to a cave system from a very old mountain range that has existed here since before Humblewood was Humblewood, before the peaks on the other side of the wood even stood the test of time. They're crumbling now, but it appears that the entire area is more prone to flares, to temperature changes, but above all else is more prone to magic going a little bit crazy when you approach the hotspot. The closer you get, the stranger magic seems to act, particularly conjuration magic. There's a very strong presence there. The good news is that creatures tend to avoid it for one reason or another. It seems to be a radius a few kilometers wide from the entrance to the cavern, where nothing seems to stir the earth, and the ember bats don't seem to stay for very long, if at all. Something is keeping the creatures out. Now, we've naturally tried many times to enter the caves and go down into the system to get to the bottom. But because the magic is so strange and so odd, all of our forms, our shapes, fire resistances don't seem to last long enough or be strong enough. Even the avium has not been able to build us any type of resistance that can beat the heat, so to speak, if we're using the language of the young tenders out there. She kind of pauses and licks her lips. Or I guess licks her beak. But we do know we've been able to map out quite a bit of the entrance to the caves to get you on the right path farther down. We believe that the only thing that could be that strong is some sort of rift to another plane, the fire plane. Either that or something very strong or very powerful or a very strong source of magic is sending that much heat up into the cave systems. We haven't been able to determine much else. She kind of sits back up as she realizes she's been leaning forward and just sort of like pushes some of her feathers down and adjusts the spectacles. The other spot, the spot where the rhythm seems to even out, this one is a bit more of an enigma for us, because we have sent scouts to go and see the spot itself when it became so close that we felt we could actually go there and back within the day from this encampment. So we sent out some scouts, gave them the direction. We sent our best tenders out with them, and they came back and reported that nothing was at the spot. It seemed that everything was even, that there was no sense that the great rhythm was disturbed in that spot, but they could not find any source. And after that day, the spot moved. And it continues to move every day. Sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's farther. Sometimes it appears to almost leave the grove as best as we can triangulate it. But it's strange in that fact. We don't know what it is, but, and she adjusts her glasses once more and kind of looks over to Astra, who kind of takes a deep breath and turns towards all of you with an air of confidence. I think I mentioned that I, at least, believe it to be a code spot. Something so powerful is in there somewhere and is nullifying the heat of the grove. Something is cooling it down. Something is making it even, is bringing it back into balance. fact that our scouts did not see anything when it came close, I believe that there's just some form of magic that's hiding whatever that source is. Something that powerful would have protections. We just have no proof of that as tenders. We haven't been able to get close enough to it, and every time it moves, it's random. We haven't been able to intercept it. But we can feel it. And I believe that I'm right in this. You talked of something called the aspect of ice back in Aldehart. You told me that. And she looks towards the table of elders. You see the older servant kind of like purse his lips a little bit. And a few of the others kind of shift uncomfortably. Not everyone believes that tale, but I believe it to be true. And I think this is the first step in actually finding it. Whether you share that belief or not, that's what I think this is. I don't think it's nothing. And she kind of just sits back into her chair and looks back at May. There's some contention, as there's no written record of something like that existing except within legends of old, which is why there's a bit of a disagreement, but that's democracy. She kind of smiles a little bit. We're allowed to disagree, and then we go and we find the right answer. And she kind of gives a nod. There is one more thing that we hope you may be able to do if you are out in the grove and traveling as far as the hot spot. It's on the other side of the grove. No matter where this cold spot is. Trevor's story is what we initially went and sent Astra to Algerhart for, to get aid in dealing with whatever monster was in the grove. It is still there, and we are not entirely sure what it is. Our best guess from what we've been able to ascertain, we have been able to find things that resemble scales. They appear quite large, and wherever the earth has appeared to shift, we've been able to send in other scouts, other rangers, and other hunters, and they've been able to bring back what we believe are reptilian scales. Now, there are a number of fire beasts from the fire plane, if that is indeed what this is, that have scales, so I cannot give you more than that without giving you a laundry list of possibilities. But that thing is still in there. If you come across it and you slay it, you'll make the grove a little bit safer, if not smaller. But it is a very real danger and threat that we need help dealing with. Now, we're not going to let you go unprepared. We know we've prepared things for you to take, so here. And the bag that they have on the counter, she kind of opens it up and just, you see an assortment of items. And she kind of looks and adjusts her glasses before Astra kind of stands up and just puts a hand on May's, gives a soft smile, and May kind of nods to sit back down. And Astra pulls up a handful of 5 arrows and looks to you, Apoc. These are what our scouts use to get a better visual of what's going on farther away. We only had 5 to spare, as some of our scouts are currently out in the grove using them, but if you shoot the arrow, wherever the arrow lands, you can shift your vision there.
Ooh.
And you can do that for about a minute. You can see and hear, similar to a scry, clairvoyance spell. And you can
What are
retrieve,
those?
like looking through a spyglass, although you're actually there instead of.
But I won't be there.
No, you'll be wherever you shot the arrow.
Can I see where I am?
I don't believe so. I've never shot an arrow myself, but we might have to help you along the way.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. She kind of looks a little bit concerned. Um, but you have 5 red feather arrows
Ooh, cool.
that essentially let you scry for a minute wherever the arrow lands.
Wow, okay, that's awesome.
She goes back into the kind of splayed out items and picks up a little baggie, a little kind of satchel, and goes to you, Aurora, and kind of hands it to you. It doesn't really match your aesthetic, but I figured it's good for you. I asked them to gather what we had left. This is a dust of disappearance. So if you need to make a quick getaway, keep yourself safe and anyone within a very short span around you, that should help you do so. She kind of hands that over and goes back, and she pulls out next a necklace. There's so much. She pulls out a necklace with 4 different colored beads around it, and she goes over to you, Mrs. Q, and kind of hands it over to you. As the cleric of the group, you might appreciate this. This is a necklace of prayer beads. As not a lot, it's been used and some of the beads have been broken over time. But it can give you a little bit of some extra spells to help your friends along the way. So you have a necklace of prayer beads, Mrs. Q. You have 4 beads. And when you pull it up, I'll let you know what spells you have available. To Basil, she kind of grabs some 2 vials of what look like very familiar red liquid potions. And she goes over to you and hands them to you. It's not much, but you're the one who might need a few extra bits of health every so often. These are greater healing potions. So they should give you a little bit extra when you're in need.
Thank you.
And to Elle, she kind of picks up this like softball size, very smooth, what looks like a stone globe of some sorts. And she looks over to you and kind of rolls it to you across the table, almost playfully. And as it's rolling, she goes, "Now, I wasn't sure what you would need, Elle. From what I hear from our young tenders, the most powerful in your group." She kind of smiles. "But if you ever need a light in the dark, most of the time the moon is not available to us in the Scorched Grove. The ash can blot it out of the sky. This is a drift globe. It can give you light as low as a torch if you need it, or as bright as daylight if we need it. Figured you might be the best person to be able to hold it. I know it's not much, but that's all the tenders really have to spare. We replenish our supplies only when we move into town, so use them well, use them to help you through here, and remember, I'm coming with you. So you have at least someone else to give you some numbers in whatever we face, creature or no creature. Where would you like to start?" She kind of looks over at all of the elders who are just starting to shift as they start to stand and stretch a little bit as she kind of huddles in towards all of you. "I know it's a big decision, but we brought you here because you're capable, or so the council tells us, but I believe it. I'm a faithful person. Where would you like to go? The hot spot or the cold spot? I can lead you to either. I've been to both. And it's your choice what you'd like to investigate."
The cold spot. It's warm.
Can you imagine we're like, split the group?
Yeah, who wants hot, who wants cold?
I've
We're gonna
always-
need big jackets for the cold spot, right?
Darn, I just handed mine in for pillows.
I think it makes sense to do cold, right?
Feel like that's where we might find a
Oh,
weapon.
Yeah.
Maybe that can help us figure out the hotspot thing. If we can stop it from moving around so much.
Well, I've always done better in the cold.
Yeah, cold spot.
We got 2 cloaks.
I want to be very clear, it might be nothing. We might spend time chasing this moving spot and it might be nothing. Or it might be everything you're looking for.
That seems worth the risk.
We've wasted days before.
Astra will audibly laugh at that. All right. It will take longer to get there than going straight to the hotspot. It moves. I can sense it moving. Perhaps I can even teach some of you how to sense it moving if you're willing to listen to the rhythm. But it's unpredictable. It could be days away, it could be hours away at any given time. I can't stress enough that we might spend time chasing nothing.
What time of day does it move?
Random.
Hmm.
We try to keep track of it at night, but it's almost like it disappears and comes back, if that makes sense. Not like it moves in a line.
So it always reappears in the morning somewhere else?
It's not really a every day at dawn after a long rest kind of thing. We try to locate it in the morning. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't.
Has it ever overlapped with the hotspot?
No. In fact, that barrier that the elders mentioned, where no creatures tend to go, as long as we've been tracking it, it's been just over a year now. As long as we've been tracking it, it hasn't crossed that barrier. It approaches it, and then it seems to back away.
Hmm.
Well, there's a slight chance we owe it to ourselves to look into it and investigate.
Who knows? Our group's used to chasing nothing, but maybe this time we'll find something.
Your tone is braggy, but the content of that sentence seemed very sad. I hope you're not chasing nothing. You should always be moving towards a goal or something.
Oh,
Anyways. Elle, are you doing okay with all of this? You haven't said very much. And I want to make sure you're on board.
It's a lot to process, and I feel a little out of my depth, but we have an adventure, and it's our job to be the heroes, right?
I guess so. She kind of looks to the rest of your group and then back at you, Elle. There was something else left for you, Elle. I need to give it to you now before the elders take it. And Aster kind of leans over and grabs the last little satchel that was on the bench as you see May, who's just starting to kind of roll up the sheet, and she just kind of, oh, I didn't even know that was there. Thank you, Astra, and finishes rolling up the piece of leather and putting it back. And Astra kind of rocks over to you and just holds her hand out to give you the satchel. And as you take it, you feel like a heavier, smaller item on the inside. And
She's gonna take it, but she's not gonna open it in front of everybody.
Okay. So you have a little satchel on you right now. All right. Do you have everything that you need? Are we ready to go?
Can you give me like
Yeah.
2 minutes?
Sure, if you need 2 minutes,
We're
go
going to the-
for it.
Everybody, stay here. I'll be right back. And I rush off.
Wait, should we all go pee?
Yeah, you can go pee. But me back here.
The washroom's right over there.
Can we see where Aurora goes?
I'm running back to the store,
Okay.
and I'm gonna talk to the guy, and it's like, wait, don't cut that jacket up yet. Can I have it?
You see there's like one cuff, like the cuff on one sleeve is missing.
I
And
like
he just kind of,
I like have his hand and cast mending to try and fix it.
oh, sure, yeah, you see that. I'm mending.
Finally use that spell.
Yeah.
And then I would like to cast reduce to shrink it down, and then stick it into my clutch.
Oh, the clutch? The clutch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then I run back. All right, we're
Got
good.
it.
Wow.
All right. At this time, it's like you've only been here about 90 minutes at this point, going through everything with the elders, and going through everything with the store. So it is closer to noon at this point, and Astra kind of stands up. As Aurora had ran out, you notice that Astra had just taken off her mantle and exchanged it for a cloak of her own that looks very similar to Basil's, the camel. And she looks at all of you and says, time to go then, into the grove, towards the moving, hopefully cold spot. I'm excited to see it myself, I will say. I think something was missed, but let's go. And as you all go ahead and set off into the grove, leaving behind, you see the two teams that you had talked to earlier, Elle. They're just kind of like waving at you from the well as they leave. And May kind of seeing you off while the other elders have kind of scattered about. You walk out of the tender encampment and head north into the grove. Astra kind of taking a moment, a beat or two, you see her close her eyes for a few steps before opening them, shifting slightly, and continuing to walk north. Since this is still, no peeking. Since this is still pretty much almost an entire day, the overcast sky, does someone want to roll an adventure roll? It's going to be a D8 this time.
Oh, all powerful one. Why don't you roll it?
Will I be rolling it at disadvantage?
No, it's just an adventure roll,
Okay.
not a skill
Before-
check for you.
I will roll it, but before we've gone out, Elle wants to look into the pouch. She wants to see if it is what she thinks it is.
Okay. You take a quick look into the pouch when everybody's just starting to move and not paying as much attention to you. Are you trying to be stealthy about this?
Yes.
Okay,
I
go
am.
ahead and make a stealth check for me.
Balls. Okay.
We'll make this sleight of hand since you're just kind of trying to like
Oh, perfect.
sneakily open it and close it.
11.
I think everyone's passive perception is higher than that. If your passive perception is 11 or higher, I think Mrs. Q, you're good. Basil, you're probably good. Apoc, I think you're good.
Yeah, it's 14.
They see me looking in, but do they also see whatever I see?
No. They see
Okay.
you try to be sneaky about looking in. But as you look in, you see that it is a ring. And you recognize the ring with a solid blue stone built in, the filigree kind of very light, the silver of the ring just sort of blending almost with the silver veins of the stone itself. You recognize this as Master Wayra's ring. And you see a little piece of paper that seems to be kind of curled around the ring itself, kind of curled around the band.
Can she pull that out and read it?
Yeah, you can pull it out and read it. Your
Again,
friend will
thinking I'm
notice.
being real sneaky.
As you pull it out and read it, it's more neatly scrawled than the note you found in the back of the book in the library, your grandmother's dissertation. It is scrawled in your grandmother's handwriting instead of your mother's this time. And it says, "To Elle, it's time it was passed to you, period. We knew you'd make it here, period." And that's all.
Whoa.
Just gonna mumble to herself, "Love you too, Grandma," and then just put it into like the farthest spot in whatever pocket she has. It's just going in there.
Okay. I still need that adventure roll, my friend.
I rolled a 7.
A 7. All right. As you set out into the grove, you you notice that as Astra had kind of taken a deep breath in and kind of let it go, starting to walk north and then slowly starting to adjust her course more to the west. So deeper into the grove. You are walking farther away from the woods at this point. And you notice Astra is bearing west for the rest of the day as she is walking towards what she is tracking as this cold spot, or this spot where the great rhythm starts to even out. As you travel, you notice that although the day is not sunny and clear, the little weather prediction from Mrs. Q was right. The gray, rolling, overcast sky just remains gray, rolling, pretty benign for the rest of the day as your first day into the grove. You notice as you walk the ground beneath your feet where it was lush forest that had turned into kind of dry dirt and rock is now turning almost into, I guess, the remnants of a fire. When it's gone out, it's no longer burning embers, but the charcoal at the bottom of a fireplace or at the bottom of a fire pit. This like loose kind of dust that immediately dirties your boots unless you're Aurora. And you notice that it starts to kind of stick almost like static to the hem of your clothing. You can see every so often like lone trees that are starting to stand, and within an hour, you look back over your shoulder and the tender encampment has been swallowed by the soot that hangs in the air. As you continue to make your way farther and farther in, Astra leading the way, you don't, thankfully, encounter anything for your first half-day travel into the Scorched Grove. So that was a good adventure roll.
Yeah. Fire elementals don't kill us, the lung cancer will.
You do notice that Astra, every so often you get a kind of a breath of clean air as Astra kind of gusts some fresh air back from her hand with a sweep. Just trying to keep the air as clean as possible. But your first afternoon goes by unaffected. If there's anything you'd like to do in the afternoon or the evening, as the day kind of draws to a close, the tiny hut goes up if that's your prerogative to do, and you all kind of start to settle in. Excuse me. and just put your backs up against the hut, Mrs. Q preparing a lovely dinner. Is there anything you'd like to do before the day winds to a close?
It's pierogies. That's dinner.
It's a very specific dumpling choice.
There you go.
All right.
Oh, yeah, actually, yes, sorry. Mrs. Q, there was totally something she wanted to do.
Okay, great.
It was like doing their whatever nighttime routine. Mrs. Q goes up to Aurora and says, care to join me in my nightly ritual of face cream?
I'd love to. Yes. And like all giddy, I run over and kind of watch.
So Mrs. Q slowly explains the different things that she does, and she has like a exfoliant that she uses made of like, I don't know, crushed apricot pits and stuff. She, to clean the pores with her paws. Get it?
So
But she also
this is the secret to looking young?
This is it. Apricot scrub every night.
Okay.
But as we're like finally putting on like the cold cream that I like leave on overnight, she asks Aurora, so the dean asked me about that book.
Yeah,
Yeah, they really want it back.
but they lost it.
But we found it.
Well, I found it, yes, but I'm still learning from it, and I can always renew a library book, so I don't see why I can't renew this one.
Because this one wasn't from the library.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna hang on to it for a little longer. Like we have a long way back to the avium. Like there's no rush, and hey, we're saving the world, right?
Absolutely. I don't have an issue with you having the book. I trust you to use what is in it for good and not for evil, but who knows what's out there, So make
Well,
sure you keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, I make sure no one lays a finger on this book. Don't worry. It's precious to me.
You think maybe we could return it on our way back?
Yeah, I think we could.
You think you will return it on the way back?
Yeah,
Okay.
I promise.
You missed a spot, and she like fills in a little bit of the cream just above your eyebrow.
Oh, but I guess to be fair, like this book's really helped. Well, not just me, but us getting through things. So like, I wouldn't want to get rid of it before we face anything too strong. So I need it.
I understand.
Thanks for understanding.
She hands you 2 cucumber slices.
Oh my gosh.
I know what to do with these, and I put them over my eyes.
No, what? That's for a nighttime snack.
Oh no! Now they're covered in cold cream.
It's organic. It's fine. It's basically just cream cheese.
And I wanted to say something since it's just us, the girls talking. If things do get cold, I went back and I grabbed your coat, so I got it put away just for now because it is a little unruly. But if you need it, let me know and I'll pull it out for you.
No, that was very forward thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Well,
I wouldn't have thought to do that.
well, if we're going to a cold spot,
Then you need the big coat.
yeah, and you look good in it, so.
Thank you. And I feel like it's big enough that, if we all snuggled together, could probably cover most of us.
Yeah. Yeah, we could.
Okay.
Well, sleep tight. We're good under the hut, so.
Yes, try not to lay on your face.
Oh no, I'm a stomach sleeper.
Okay, we'll just
Cakes
Yeah.
on her ass.
Well, the tail and everything makes it hard to sleep on my back. So
Mm. Well, it'll be crusty by the morning
okay.
anyways. It's probably fine.
That
Okay.
sounds terrible. You do
But it
notice
was.
that you do notice that the air inside the dome is actually a little bit nicer. There's not
Lavender diffuser in the tiny hut.
perfect lavender diffuser until someone moves and a plume of like a little of ash just kind of moves from the ground under your feet and the coals under your feet.
Mm.
Anything else before bed to end the session?
But
Oh,
Oh no.
going to she uses her whichever one it is, thaumaturgy or something, to just make the diffuser that's like got the like streamy, not smoke, but the vapors or whatever. She just tinges them like pink and blue. So it's just like, would you lay in there? It's just pretty. Just so you're looking at something other than gray.
that's lovely. I love that. You see Astra kind of like druid craft little birds out of petals that just kind of fly on the little vapor trail before they fall to the ground to give a little bit of entertainment for the evening.
There you go.
Hey, Sir Basil, could you do me a favor just before we go to bed?
Yeah, what?
Could you make sure I don't wander off?
I got you, Apoc. Mr. Basil, maybe we'll like tie a rope around Apoc's ankle and then just like hold on to the rest. Or maybe he'll
Tie it to your own ankle.
No, he'll tie a rope to Apoc's ankle, then tie the other half around his waist.
Do you
Okay,
have any
so really
do you have any
fast.
silk rope?
Hmm?
Do you have any silk rope? Like this stuff's a little bit hard.
Oh no. Unfortunately, that's not something I prepared.
Aurora, do you keep silks?
I have silks, but nothing in rope form.
What an interesting sentence.
What forms?
Well, I've got a silk nightie, but I didn't think it was appropriate to wear with the 5 of us in here, or the 6 of us in here. But
Why'd you bring it?
like, who knows what we get into? It's comfier, but we're out in the wilderness, so
Does your nightie have a belt?
no. What kind of nightie would have a belt?
You're thinking of a silk robe, Apoc.
Yeah, I am. No. All right, this rope will do.
No.
Uh,
Esther kind of like chuckles and traveling with you is not what I thought it was going to be in a place as desolate as this. It's actually quite refreshing. Thank you.
Elle wants to try, like, she'll take her book out, but obviously things are getting really sooty. She's gonna try to write her letters and send them off again, but I'm curious if they catch fire once they get into the air.
So the air is hot, but like your feathers are not starting to burn or anything like that. You're still for all intents and purposes on the outskirts of the grove itself. The soot and the embers under your feet are not glowing embers. They're just old charcoal is the best way to describe it.
Okay.
So you can certainly write the letters and you can certainly send them off back to the east and back to the south out of the grove.
Yeah, she's gonna write, I think, 4 letters tonight. Actually, 5. She's gonna write 5 letters and send them off.
Where are you sending them to?
You know, just get them up in the air and then the postal service takes care of the rest.
I meant who are you sending them to? You can.
Oh. She writes her usual ones. She writes one to Emrys. She writes ones to Evie. She writes one that she doesn't label, and she doesn't quite know where it's going to end up. And she writes one to her dad and one to her siblings. That's 5, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's 5. Okay. As you sit there scratching away while the facial is going on and the silk rope talk is going on, you use gust just like before to kind of send them into the air and out of sight one by one, and wander back into the dome itself to start snuggling up, knowing that your letters are safe within the postal service in this desolate place where there is no one else for hours of walking.
Through rain, nor sleet, nor smoke, nor anything.
We'll deliver your package. All right. As you all start completing your nighttime routine, starting to snuggle up, starting to debate who might stay on watch or if a watch is needed. We will end the session there to spare my throat for the rest.